Hello, everybody. Wow, great start there. Choke on my own tongue. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. See, when we cut the podcast version, we'll cut off that first part where I sounded like a moron. But you here at the live stream, you get the full moron take. So that's exciting. Hello, everybody. Uh, Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. Yesterday was the last episode of Unredacted Tonight. If you haven't watched it, I do hope you will check it out. I explain why it ended. I explain a lot of things. So I hope you'll check out that episode. It's at in YouTube's. It's all. I put it on every platform. Whatever. I don't. All the things. It's everywhere. Anyway. On today's episode of Dangerous Ideas. Oh, sorry, Eleanor couldn't be here today. I know Friday's normally Eleanor Day. But today I wanted to bring some clips, some videos of the Smarty Pants people talking about why this moment is or seems to be or very well could be the end of the American empire. And you've heard me, pontificate on it. But I wanted to bring clips of some of the other Smarty Pants. Not that I'm a Smarty Pants, but these other Smarty Pants, their pants are smartier. Their pants are filled with Smarties. They have a lot of candy in their pants. But people like Douglas McGregor, economist Michael Hudson, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Alfred McCoy. So I'm going to be bringing that to you during this episode, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. So we're going to do that. I also have more topics after that we'll be covering. RFK Jr. said one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, but it clearly is a lie that he's decided to push. I'm going to bring that to you later, and I'll also bring you the evidence of just how dumb and wrong it is. Anyway, all of that's coming up. It's going to be a great episode. Please click thumbs up, click subscribe. When you click subscribe, also click the bell icon. I know they'll probably suppress you anyway, suppress me by not telling you about stuff, but still might help. So please do all of that. So even if you are a current subscriber of the YouTube, click the bell to set it to all alerts. But okay, let's get started here. We'll start off with a little Douglas McGregor. I don't agree with everything that Douglas McGregor believes. He clearly has it seems to be a light hatred of green energy. That's not in this clip. It's just in other talking points. But anyway, I do think he knows military and militarism. He comes from the U.S. military. So I think he probably knows what he's talking about when it comes to military stuff. Anyway, we'll listen to a bit of this and break it down.
Most analysts that have looked at what I would say the magnitude of destruction from the first round have said it'll take a year, maybe 2 years, if we were to stop now, to recover in the Persian Gulf. And most people, understanding what I've just outlined to you, are concluding accurately, I think, that it will take 5 to 10 years to recover. And we're not sure what recover means, because a lot of this infrastructure in the Gulf may never be rebuilt.
And this is another factor of why, people who are true lunatics and they say, why didn't the U.S. just keep bombing things? Just keep bombing things until they give up. Well, the U.S. needs, in many ways, this infrastructure to continue. As I've pointed out, many have pointed out, it's not just oil. Yes, we are gas and oil independent now, because we just frack the living fuck out of our own towns and villages and households, and now your water's flammable. Congrats. So we did that, which gave us a lot of what they call natural gas. Yeah, arsenic is natural, okay? Naturally occurring. A lot of things are natural. Doesn't make them good. Anyway, we are energy independent in that way, but it's not just gas. It's a lot of other things that the Strait of Hormuz is crucial for, such as helium, such as fertilizer, things needed for farming. And the U.S. has already destroyed some of the infrastructure. But this is why the U.S., even the psychopaths at the top of the U.S. military, are not just continuing to blow up everything, is because they see that there's a boomerang effect here. And obviously Iran knows that. That's how Iran's entire game plan has worked. That, we can make you suffer too. How do you like this? And sure enough, they have made the U.S. and global economies suffer. But anyway, let's continue here.
I mean, the decision may simply be made not to go back in there. And if anybody does go in there, I would say it would probably be China. Because right now, the sort of global, what's the right word? The sort of global safe area for cash and money is increasingly going to be China, not the United States.
And this is something that I and others have pointed out is the strength of the U.S. dollar is based on a lot of the world thinking that that's the safest place to put their money, to sit it. I'll sit it in dollars, then I don't have to worry about it fluctuating up and down. But Donald Trump and previous administrations as well have shown how fucking crazy and unstable this empire is. And so increasingly, the countries around the world are going, yeah, this dollar thing, oh, look, it's so good. Maybe we'll put it in something stable, like, I don't know, Chinese yuan.
And I think that's where things are headed. If you look at just the credit markets, people are going to go to China to borrow, not come to the United States. And I think the petrodollar is already dead. Whether or not the yuan replaces it is anybody's guess. Probably could, but it may be a basket of currencies.
And that also fits with BRICS. The rise of BRICS has to do with creating a basket of currencies, several currencies that are basically the dominant reserve currencies of the world rather than just the US dollar. That greatly undermines the strength of the US dollar. It means that the US government will no longer be able to just print an endless number of dollars. I mean, we added 20% to the monetary supply of US dollars just during COVID. During COVID, we added a crazy percentage to the monetary supply. Yet, and there has been inflation, but there's not been runaway inflation. It's not like a dollar back in 2019 is now worth 8 cents. Sometimes it feels like it. But we could be headed there if the global reserve currency is switched. And Donald Trump is basically giving the world good reasoning to abandon the dollar and move towards more stable currencies. And this is like every aspect of this shows that the U.S. empire is not just in decline, but this is kind of the pivotal moment. And in a momentary moment, we're going to have a moment that'll be really momentous for those of us having that moment. In a few seconds, in a few minutes, I'm going to get to a Consortium News article by Alfred McCoy about how, despite this war with Iran not being a massive war on the level of, World War II or some shit, or even Vietnam, it very well is showing all the signs of being this key moment where an empire, and he goes through history of previous empires, where an empire, basically it's the spark that, the use whatever metaphor you want. It's the spark that broke the camel's back. It's the hair that lit the forest on fire. All right. It's the dog that farted the final fart. I don't know. But whatever metaphor you want to use, it doesn't seem that large, but it very well could be the telltale sign of the end of the U.S. empire. All right, let's move now to economist Michael Hudson. And if you don't know him, excellent economist. And he also is featured regularly on Ben Norton's show. He has Michael Hudson kind of had or has a regular show as part of Ben Norton's podcast. Anyway, let's listen to a few minutes. He's actually on with Richard Wolff, which Richard Wolff was on this show just a few days ago. If you missed that episode, I hope you go check it out. Richard Wolff does not speak in the clip I'm about to show, but just you guys might see him sitting there scratching his head.
I discussed in super imperialism, but today. Let's look at the situation again. The largest commodity exports from the United States for the last 5 months. Can you guess what commodity it is? Not aircraft, not automatic intelligence, not computers. It's non-monetary gold. America's largest export is now the gold that its private holders and perhaps even the U.S. government had had. And the largest exports of gold are to Britain and to Switzerland, Switzerland being a transfer point to China and Hong Kong. Hong Kong is the third major destination of this gold. Forbes magazine, just in the last few days, came out with all of these figures saying, well, there's about a 6 week to 8 week lag in the publication of foreign trade figures. But the most recent figure we have is in February, and that's 5 months in a row where gold is a major American export.
So I think you guys get it, but he's not saying export like we're selling it. He's basically saying people are pulling their gold out of the United States. Like they held it, some of them held it here, but some of them are just looking around the world where they can buy gold. But the point is, these countries that used to think that the U.S. was a stable place to have this gold, now it's like flying off the shelves, going to other countries because they're seeing the instability. They're seeing that this is unhinged. They're seeing the lunacy. They're seeing the writing on the wall of the U.S. empire.
Well, in 1971, the United States said, okay, we're not selling you gold anymore. What's your choice? You don't have any choice. How are you going to save all these dollars that you're accumulating? Well, there's really no alternative to gold. We're not going to let you invest in American companies or control our economy. Like we use your balance of payments to buy out your economy. All you can do is buy U.S. Treasury securities or corporate bonds. Well, that's not the case now because Iran, like Venezuela, was pricing saying we don't want to hold dollars. We have alternative dollars now. We can hold Chinese yuan. Yen, essentially. So now, when America loses gold, this money is not recycled into loans to the U.S. Treasury to fund the balance of payments deficit to continue waging the war. America is being stripped of its gold and its core international economic power, just as it's being stripped of its bombs and missiles and aircraft and all the other elements of war. It's America's left without any cards to play the game. If you want to look at it in terms of game theory, America's broke. That is what the Iran war has done to Trump's plan.
America is broke, Michael Hudson says, and I think maybe more so than just like monetarily, it has shown the Iran war has shown that the U.S. military can't even quote unquote defeat a military that spends 1% of what the U.S. does on military. That's what the number is. Legit. 1% of what the U.S. military budget is. That's what Iran spends. And they have proven that they can really bring the U.S. to its knees. I mean, I think all of you understand why Trump said, we're going to have a ceasefire until Tuesday. And then Iran, said, well, if you want to actually have a fair ceasefire discussions, we're here for it. But the U.S. doesn't want to do that. The U.S. just came to the ceasefire discussion saying, basically, give us everything we want or we'll keep bombing you. And Iran said, no, we're winning. Why would we do that? And so then Trump said, well, the ceasefire is extended because the U.S. needs this to end. I mean, Iran has proven that the U.S. military can't get the job done, has no way to really get the job done. And it's also just shown how unhinged the U.S. is. It has exposed the empire for what it is. We'll get more into that in a moment. Let's see. Someone in the chat, I noticed Kevin said, Lee Camp is back, RT unbanned. But as if you watched the final episode, which just aired last night and is still there, free to watch on YouTube, when I said it's canceled, I meant specifically the show Unredacted Tonight. Unredacted Tonight, I know sometimes this stuff can get confusing, but I basically have two shows. I have live streams like this one that is just me chatting, and I had, as of last night, a new version of Redacted Tonight called Unredacted Tonight, that was a written comedy produced images produced, all those things, a much different style, effort, all those things. And that show is now over because I can't afford to keep doing it. There's just, it's crazy suppressed. I mean, all my stuff is suppressed, but it's one thing to be suppressed when you aren't spending a lot of money on the thing that's suppressed. Like doing these live streams, it takes me a lot of work, but it doesn't cost me a lot of money to do a live stream. Doing Unredacted Night costs a lot of money. So the suppression was just killing it. And anyway, all that's on the show. Go watch the show. Hope you enjoy it. But yeah, so my live streams are continuing. This is, I hope most of you know that I wasn't saying I'm gone forever. I'll never be on YouTube again. I just meant Unredacted Tonight was over. Okay, so yeah, Michael Hudson making some great points. I didn't know the thing about gold. I didn't know that there was a gold flight out of this country right now, as he's saying. But just everywhere you look, there are signs that the U.S. empire is just over. It's just done. I mean, it'd be one thing if like the U.S. was having difficulty overseas, Iran and everything, but at least Americans, at least we were being treated well. At least we had easy, comfortable lives and no one was struggling. Instead, I haven't met someone who's like, dude, life is just so easy. I just have an awesome job, not worried about anything. It's just so cool. I haven't met someone that said that in probably 10 years. Like, it seems like everybody's struggling in one way or another. They've gutted the number of good jobs. They've gutted the middle class. They've gutted our ability to afford health care and everything else, food. They've gutted transportation and infrastructure. You can't drink out of a fucking water fountain without getting instantaneous lead poisoning. As you drink out of it, you're like, I just lost algebra. That's gone. Thank you, Dan, for supporting the show with a super chat. Goddamn right. I'm not going to try and read whatever it is you wrote there because it's got too many weird letters in there. I'm not sure if you just hit your head on the keyboard or what went on, but love you, Dan. Okay, let's keep going now on to Professor Jeffrey Sachs. I've showed clips from Jeffrey Sachs before. You probably know of him. He does great work on geopolitics. And of course, as is the trend, if you actually speak the truth about the U.S. empire, he also has been banned from mainstream media, like Chris Hedges, like me, like so many others, where we used to be on mainstream media. Jeffrey Sachs a lot more than I did. He was on all the time, apparently, like MSNBC and everything. And he has said in interviews that the moment he stopped getting the phone calls was when he said that we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. That was the end. I think the phone calls had decreased since he started calling out the U.S. empire more clearly. But the final phone call was saying that the U.S. blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. But okay, here is Jeffrey Sachs. Speaking about the U.S. empire and the waning days of the U.S. empire.
Things, but monopolies don't last. The idea that the United States has choke points is a constant meme. It's almost ludicrous, but you go back to the beginning of 2022, the U.S. talked about cutting off Russian banks from SWIFT as the nuclear option. It was going to bring down the Russian economy. We had the choke points. We had the definitive hold on power. It basically meant almost nothing in the end. So this is a constant refrain.
You've probably heard talk about the SWIFT banking system. It's international payment settlements, and they did act like cutting Russia off from SWIFT was going to be this game changer. And has it changed the game? Has it really crushed Russia to be cut off from SWIFT? Not really.
Of history that if one country takes the lead, which Britain did in industrialization at the late 19th century, and then especially after the Napoleonic Wars, other countries innovate, catch up, steal good ideas, narrow the gap, and often leapfrog. And that was true of both Britain, of Germany and the United States. vis-a-vis Britain in around 1870 onward.
He gives in more of that interview, he gives an interesting take on this being a long-term dwindling of Western empires. You know, he talks about the British Empire, and yeah, the hegemonic role, the lead hegemonic role was kind of shifted from the UK to the US, but it still stayed in the Western world, and this is the end of it, and has been like it's been building. This end of empire has been building for decades, is his argument, and this is just kind of the cap to it. But most of these people are saying that we are headed towards, or we are currently in, a multipolar world. The US is no longer the hegemonic power. We have obviously China, but there's other countries that have some level of power, such as Iran. And it just, the hegemonic world is over by these analysts' estimation. And Trump needs to get out. Like, the U.S. empire needs to get out of this war, but at the same time, they can't leave. They've created a true, I'm going to use a technical term, shitstorm for themselves. And of course, this also came out of desperation. This move on Iran, which they'd been working towards for decades, came out of desperation for an empire in decline. And, you know, they're trying to control energy around the world. They cut off Russia from Europe. That part was successful, putting Europe into a vassal situation, back into a vassal situation underneath the United States. So that part of the proxy war in Ukraine was successful, but Trump acted like he was going to be able to end this proxy war now that it's entrenched, and he has not proven capable of that at all. Because Trump's version of, you know, having ceasefire talks or having peace negotiations is to go in and just tell the other side that they need to give him everything he wants, or else. And he's tried that again and again, and it never seems to work that I've seen. Okay, so please, everyone, click thumbs up, click subscribe. If you're already subscribed, click the bell icon. There's a great article in Consortium News, which kind of sums all of this up, by Alfred McCoy, and I'm going to go through a little of it. He says, when imperial power like Athens then, or America now, 2,000 years ago, Athens, or America now, is in decline, its leaders often react emotionally by mounting seemingly bold military strikes in hopes of regaining the imperial grandeur that's slipping through their fingers. Instead of another of the great victories the empire won at its peak of power, however, such military misadventures only serve to accelerate the ongoing decline, erasing whatever aura of imperial majesty remains and revealing instead the moral rot deep inside the ruling elite. Donald Trump's war of choice against Iran is becoming the sort of micro-military disaster that helped destroy successive empires over the past 2,500 years, from ancient Athens to medieval Portugal to modern Spain, Great Britain, and now the U.S. He's using this term. Thank you, Citizen Pideo, for supporting the show. He's using this term micro-military disasters, as in, you know, not quite as large as many other military shit shows. But, oh, thank you, Kimmy Phoenix, as well. Western Empire's white people capitalism gone nuts. Yeah, that's for sure. Better for everyone if it's dismantled. We'd have hope for an equitable world at last. Yeah, I haven't talked much about it, but because the U.S. empire is based on capitalism, and the need to grow endlessly is based on capitalism, and the need to grow like a cancer until you kill the host is based kill the host and end up in a hearse is based on capitalism. In those ways, this war on Iran and Venezuela and the proxy war in Ukraine and Cuba and sanctions on so many other countries, they're all capitalist wars. Like, without the need to endlessly grow and extract, which capitalism requires, you wouldn't have this need to endlessly extract. Like these are wars, horrific, murderous, bloodthirsty wars, and they all come back at their root cause to capitalism. And I don't. There's people that can probably talk about that better than I can, but like I haven't mentioned that a lot, but it's true. This without the unfettered capitalist destruction of the world, you wouldn't have the lunatics running things. You wouldn't have psychopaths running things. By the way, I need to keep repeating this: psychopath test, motherfucking psychopath test at the door of each government building, White House, Capitol, Pentagon. If you don't pass the test, and it doesn't need to be big. I bet they could give you a good capitalist test, a good psychopath test. Probably 5 minutes. You had 5 minutes to your commute time. Not a big deal for these fellas and ladies. And they show up the 5-minute test every morning, just in case something changed from the day before. And if you don't pass it, you're out. I wouldn't say you'd have to be executed on the grounds. Maybe you're just put in a cage somewhere. But if you had those tests, all those buildings would be empty. And we could replace them with people that can pass those tests. I know. It doesn't fix the whole system. If you still have capitalism, we still have this shit show in many ways. But at least you have some nicer people talking at the press conferences, at least. Let me continue from Alfred McCoy. Not only did such disasters, he's talking about these micro military disasters, add financial pressures to a fading empire's many troubles, but in a humiliating fashion, they also invariably exposed its eroding power. You know what else has exposed the U.S. eroding power in this war with Iran? Is the fact that Trump has asked all of NATO to join him, and none have. None have. Some of them said you can fly out of our military bases, but none are sitting there with battleships in the Strait of Hormuz. It's like he has basically just shown to the world that the U.S. is a paper tiger. He just got a big paper tiger banner, started waving it around. Anyway, humiliating fashion invariably exposed eroding power while exacerbating the destabilizing impact of imperial decline in the capitals of said empires. So he's basically clicked fast forward. Trump has clicked fast forward on the end of the U.S. empire. And I'm trying to tell everybody, that's why I love this dude. Because in order for the world to have peace, we got to have the end of the U.S. empire. You can still have a country or something or whatever, do your thing, sure. But the empire needs to be done. And Trump has clicked fast forward on all this shit. So what a good guy. Maybe he's doing it because he wants peace in the world. You ever thought of that? No, I don't think that's it. Okay, I'm going to skip some of the history lessons, but this one I thought was quite important. Thank you, Millhouse, for supporting the show. That's awesome. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the super chats, guys. Although if you really want to support the show, I hope you will join up at reallycamp.substack.com or patreon.com/leecamp, because it's one beer a month, the cost of one beer a month. I mean, it'd be cool if you could just send a beer in, but the cost of one beer a month, and that is a way that I can actually know whether I can keep the show going and things like that, is to have subscribers over there. So that's reallycamp.substack.com or patreon.com/leecamp. But okay, I wanted to give this history lesson because this seems more important than the other fading empires. This has to do with the micro-militarism that really showed the end of the British Empire. In July 1956, Egypt's charismatic president, Gamal Abdel Nasser, nationalized the Suez Canal, ending British colonial control there. Oh, a pivotal waterway. Have you heard anything else about pivotal, crucial, world, globally important waterways recently? Prime Minister Anthony Eden went apoplectic. He said in one meeting, quote, "I want him destroyed. Can't you understand? I want him murdered." So he wanted Nasser assassinated. With the British Secret Service MI6 failing in multiple assassination attempts, however, Eden's government began plotting with the French and Israelis to launch a secret two-phase invasion of the Suez Canal zone. With Egypt's strategic forces destroyed, basically the Brits and the French, etc., and Israel bombed the shit out of them, destroyed their air force. destroyed a lot of their capabilities. But he says, with Egypt's strategic forces destroyed and its military virtually helpless before the might of that imperial juggernaut, Nasser deployed a geopolitical strategy brilliant in its simplicity: cut off the waterway. He had dozens of rusting cargo ships filled with rocks and then scuttled, that means blown up and sunk, at the canal's northern entrance, quickly closing one of the world's main maritime choke points and cutting off Europe's oil lifeline to the Persian Gulf. Ah, sounds familiar. By the time 22,000 British and French forces began storming ashore at the canal's north end on November 6th, their objective of securing, the, I lost it. Choke points. Their objective of securing the free movement of ships had already been snatched from their grasp. By the end of that micro-military disaster, Britain would be reprimanded by the UN. Its currency would require an IMF bailout to save it from utter collapse. Its aura of imperial majesty had evaporated, and the once mighty British Empire would be on the road to extinction. In retrospect, the Suez Canal would not only expose the full-scale decline of British power, but also show the world that the country's ruling conservative establishment, with its illusions of imperial and racial superiority, was no longer capable of global leadership. Wow, that sounds familiar of what's going on right now. Let's see here. Continue for a second. Born to wealth and privilege himself, Donald Trump returned to office convinced of his unique genius for leadership and believing that, quote, I was saved by God to make America great again. I think he means when the bullet went through his ear. Wielding raw economic and military might to compel obeisance from, is it pronounced obeisance or obeisance? I've never known. From friend and foe alike, the president, inspired by a delusional sense of divine mission, began attempting to bend the world to his will. But during his first year in office, nothing seemed to work as planned. I like how this is being spoken as if it were written, as if it were like, you know, the textbooks from 100 years from now. A completely unhinged psychopath pedophile terrorist who was raised with a silver spoon in his mouth and one up his butt took over as the president of the United States. I like how it's really written like it's a history book. But during his first year in office, nothing seemed to work as planned. Indeed, most of his initiatives produced the sort of backlash that only served to show how far the U.S. had fallen from 1991. And he goes on to detail the tariff, the catastrophic tariff war, the I'm going to steal Greenland idiocy, the peace talks with Russia in Alaska that were a catastrophe. The I'm going to bring peace to Gaza while it's actually a continued genocide. That shit. Everything he's done has just been utter catastrophe. But you know, and it's like even the one that's like a so-called success with Venezuela, it's still, you know, with just going in and kidnapping their leader, democratically elected leader, as if you have a right to do that. It still is like an obvious war crime, but also it has made a lot of the world go, oh, this guy will do fucking anything. Like, this guy's just completely full of lunacy. Like, he'll do fucking anything. He'll bomb fishermen off the coast of Venezuela and go, oh yeah, we got him. Like, this guy is gone. And so even while he goes, oh, look what we did with Venezuela, and he can't even get the oil companies to go in there because it's going to take 5 to 10 years to really recreate Venezuelan infrastructure to the level they want. And in order to do that, you have to have stability. But these oil companies are like, oh, what makes you think that this is going to be, that you at the helm, this is going to be stable in 5 years? Anyway. But much as Nasser had done at Suez in 1956, Iran's leadership reversed the war's geostrategic balance by closing a critical maritime choke point in the Strait of Hormuz. By striking 5 freighters with drones in the first week of the war, Iran's leaders, taking a leaf from Nasser's geopolitical playbook, effectively shut the Strait of Hormuz to tanker traffic, cutting off gas, fertilizer, and oil shipments that plunged the world economy into an unprecedented energy crisis, which, by the way, the worst of which we have not yet seen. Because, as I've said in other videos, the speed that a filled tanker of oil or gas travels around the world is about like a casual bike ride. Legit. No, that's not a joke. Like legit the same speed as a casual bike ride. So the lack of tankers coming out of the Strait of Hormuz is still like only beginning to hit a lot of the Western world. It hit Asia sooner, but it's like we have not really seen the worst of the energy crisis. Britain and the EU are saying they'll be out of jet fuel in a matter of weeks. Anyway, by the end of March, Iran's chokehold over the strait was so tight that it began collecting tolls from freighters to permit passage. Trump and, they now have a toll booth, basically, the Strait of Hormuz. They collect about $2 million for each tanker, and it's largely being paid in either Bitcoin or Chinese yuan. Trump threatened that unless Iran opened the Strait of Hormuz, he would attack its civilian infrastructure so severely that a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. Of course, one of the most important things, or one of the important things in deciding if something's genocide is to show intent. Well, Trump tweeted out his intent to commit genocide. So that always makes it easier, which is, that's kind of nice. Even if Trump destroys Iran's infrastructure or eventually negotiates a face-saving peace deal by every metric that really matters, Washington has already lost its war with Iran. Like Britain at Suez in 1956, Washington will likely pay a heavy price for its micro-militarism in the Strait of Hormuz. Close allies, the bedrock of U.S. global power for 80 years, have refused any military support for Washington's war of choice. Washington is now proving ever more dangerously disruptive of the global economy, making China look like a far more stable choice for the world leadership. Moreover, while the U.S. military has proven its tactical agility in destroying targets, it clearly can no longer capture meaningful strategic objectives. With its alliances in tatters, its world leadership forfeited, and its aura of military might evaporating, the only trajectory of U.S. global hegemony now seems to be downward. And I think the parallels with the Suez Canal are pretty striking there. The other thing, which is not talked about in this, is the U.S. economy is a Ponzi scheme in all regards. I mean, a lot of it is just abstract financial instruments like hedge funds that are just passing money around. They don't actually add anything to the society or the world at all. And then outside of that, a lot of it's AI, which, by the way, I think, as I've said many times, AI is going to be very powerful. It will continue to be powerful. It will grow. In many of the most important tasks, AI has proven that it's doubling its speed and ability to do those tasks every 7 months, which is exponential growth. So it's not that I think that AI is not impressive and won't continue to be impressive. However, if you look at the economics of what's going on, it's 7 companies just passing billions of dollars around to try and keep this economy afloat. It is nonsense, the economics of it. So, and that's the U.S. economy. It's just a giant Ponzi scheme bubble, with a corrupt kleptocrat at the helm. But yeah, I know some people say, I think the AI, and so you said in the chat, you say the AI industry is bullshit. I don't know if you mean the economics of it or actual AI. We can debate about this, but I think give it a couple of years. I mean, if you look at just the difference between AI from 2 years ago when people first started using it and now, like I remember 2 years ago, I don't want to get too much on a tangent here. 2 years ago when AI first, people were like, oh, you can just type in that you want an image and it'll make it. And I was like, okay, let's try this. Cause I use images for Unredacted Tonight and stuff. I typed in, back then the orcas were knocking over the yachts. When I think Team Orca, orcas fucking rock. Anyway, I typed in like whale jumping on yacht or crushing yacht or whatever. And it just came up with this blurred mess. It's like a whale head coming off a boat. It was just chaos. And I was like, what is happening? This is like an awful fever dream. And so I was like, okay, so this is garbage. So maybe this is fake news. So I didn't touch it for, I didn't do anything for a year. And then for Unredacted Tonight, a year goes by and I'm like, let's see how this thing's getting. And now just about anything you type in, it'll make it instantly. And it's like, yeah, it'll get some little things wrong, but not much. It's close enough. So it's and I'm not saying, oh my God, it can make an image. That's the end of the world. I'm just saying that's 2 years from just utter garbage to near perfect images. Anyway, and that's one area of where AI is, growing. But okay, well, I did not want to get on that tangent. Wanted to go to, well, actually, ironically, good segue. Although I wasn't actually going to talk about this topic, I was just going to promote mention my Substack. I put out an article this week, free to read. New data shows AI is taking over jobs. To be more specific, it has shown that AI has already taken over a portion of the work for 20% of all jobs in America. So if you want to read that is, again, free to read at my Substack. I hope you'll click subscribe when you're over there. You can either subscribe for free or you can throw me the cost of a beer a month. But yeah, that column came out this week. The other column, which I did talk about on the live stream, but you may want to read the actual column because there's more info there, but is about the Strokes epic performance at Coachella, where they revealed some of the biggest crimes of the CIA, including the assassination of MLK. It showed video of Gaza universities being blown up. It really impressive. If you're looking for a platform and to create political theater and to do it in a way that in only a few minutes you're describing what's going on with the world, I think they did a pretty impressive job. So you can read up on my analysis of that over at reallycam.substack.com. But okay, and I also should just mention here, I know some of you joined later, final episode of Unredacted Tonight has just come out. It is over at youtube.com/momentofclarity, which is the same channel as youtube.com/@unredactedtonight. John Darwin asked about the assassination of JFK. I don't think that their little 1-minute presentation showed JFK, but maybe it's because they didn't, I don't know, want to spark that debate. I have no idea. I'm not sure why they left JFK out. But the other thing is, like, they left a billion things out. They only had 1 minute. It showed some of the CIA assassinations. Like, there's a million things you could say they left out, but you can only fit so many things in there. But yes, a new episode, or a final episode of Unredacted Tonight, and people are very much appreciating it. They like the final episode. They like what I did with it. So at least I'm proud of that. I am sorry to see it have to go Unredacted Tonight. Maybe it'll come back one day. Maybe some billionaire will go, I want to fund a show that hates billionaires. This is right up my alley. I'm sure that'll happen any minute now. Okay, got to get to, this is just like a 1-minute clip, but I wanted to show what a lying piece of shit RFK Jr. is. I hope people have started to realize what he is. And so this is Bernie Sanders arguing with him. This is not about me defending everything Bernie's ever done. I know you and I both have a lot of complaints of what Bernie's done over the years. Even if 2016 was definitely stolen from him, didn't mean he needed to go on the pro-Hillary speaking tour. But in this clip, Bernie is definitely in the right. And I think I'm only playing like 1 or 2 minutes of this. But
Secretary Kennedy, how are you? In public life, we all make misstatements, all right? A couple of hours ago, I think you said to Senator Wyden that we now pay the lowest prices in the world for prescription drugs. That is an absurd statement. Nobody in the world believes that. Do you want to correct that statement?
It's for the drugs that are on Trump RX.
I'm not talking about drugs. You said we pay the lowest prices in the world for prescription
For those
drugs.
drugs, we do.
I'm sorry.
For those drugs, we do, Senator.
Well, for certain drugs, but in general, would you agree with the Rand Corporation and every other independent survey that we continue to pay the highest prices in the world? You agree with that?
Many drugs are not covered by the agreements yet,
On average, do we pay the highest prices
Well,
in the world?
as we always have, except for
That's
the
right.
most common
I'm not
drugs.
saying this is a new development, but you said a moment ago that we pay the lowest prices in the
For
world.
the most common drugs, we do. Or GLPs, or IVF drugs, or COPD drugs, or asthma drugs, for insulin.
Well, let me give you an example. For the cancer drug Opdivo, it costs $260,000 in the United States, costs $56,000 in Japan. We paying the lowest prices, et cetera, et cetera. Senator Welch made the same point. All right, the bottom line is, look, there are thousands of drugs out there. There may be a drug here or a drug there. We pay lower prices. In general, according to the Rand Corporation, we now pay nearly 3 times as much for prescription drugs than 33 other countries in the OECD. You agree with that?
For the most common drugs, we have the lowest prices.
Okay, I'm going to go into more detail of just how much he's lying and just how much bullshit this is. And keep in mind, it's not that he slipped up. This is not, oh, he said something slippery. This is him defending that bullshit. Like, it is so striking for him to say that the U.S. pays less than every other country in prescription drugs. All right, so here are some of the numbers. Overall, U.S. prescription drug prices are much higher. Rand found, as Bernie Sanders mentioned, that our prices were 2.78 times the prices in 33 other peer countries. So they're comparing it to similarly developed countries. For brand name drugs, Rand found, and Rand is a research corporation that is known for these type of analyses, but they can generally be trustworthy on numbers like this. They found U.S. brand name originator drugs were 4.22 times comparison country prices and over 3 times after rebate adjustment. Even Medicare's newly negotiated prices remain above peer countries. For the first 10 Medicare negotiated drugs, U.S. Medicare prices are 2.8 times the average of other wealthy OECD, same economic development countries, and higher for all 10 drugs that they looked at. That Medicare has negotiated. Per person, U.S. retail pharmaceutical spending is $1,000, $713 per capita, $1,700 per person is what this averages out to. The highest in the OECD and more than double the average of $766. The administration's own policy premise contradicts this claim by RFK. The current drug pricing deals are explicitly framed as aligning U.S. costs with lower prices in wealthy nations. So if they're trying to lower them to what they are in other countries, then wouldn't that imply that they're currently higher than other countries? But here's the part of it that Bernie Sanders did not get into that I think is key, is they're talking about the prices prior to insurance, kicking in or whatever. But in most countries, or a lot of countries, they have healthcare that covers their prescription costs almost entirely, or in a large way. Here's what. So let's say the price of the drug is similar, or 1 or 2 times less in the UK. But here's what the actual person would be paying in the UK. England charges a flat per prescription fee of £9 to £10, a few dollars for your prescription drugs. For anyone out there, oh, and by the way, if you're elderly, low income, or in certain other conditions, it's £0. So while he's saying that our drugs are less expensive than all these other countries, they're not talking about the fact that in most of these other countries, you're paying almost nothing. The actual customer, the consumer, is paying almost nothing because the cost is paid by the government under some level of universal healthcare. And I know UK has been trying to gut their healthcare. So I'm not saying UK healthcare is perfect, but imagine if every prescription you went to the drugstore for, every single one, you said, can I get that prescription? They said, that'll be $9. Like, we wouldn't even be talking about prescription drugs if that were the case. Everyone would be like, oh yeah, those are easy to get. Not a big deal. Germany, patients typically pay 5 to 10 euro per prescription drug. 5 to 10 euro. It's crazy. In Japan, the standard copay is 30%, which is a lot more than those other countries, but a lot less than the US. Now think about these people without insurance who go to buy their prescription drug. What's your average prescription drug? I mean, you guys in the chat can tell me if you're in the US. When you buy a prescription drug, even if you have insurance, which a lot of people don't, what do you pay for that? The times I've gotten ones, it was $70, $130. It's like the fucking norm. And that's not like cancer drugs where it's like thousands of dollars. So in Canada, many provinces have $0. You pay $0 for prescriptions for seniors, children, or low-income groups. Australia looks like the average is maybe $30. And in Nordic countries, there's a low annual cap for what you can pay for prescription drugs. I actually lived in a Nordic country for 10 months. I was in Sweden. And my kid got sick, a stomach issue. We take him to, the children's hospital, emergency room, basically. They find out what's wrong with him. You know what that costs? $0 to go to those doctors and find out what's wrong with him. Then they say, hey, you need to get these prescriptions to make him better. Well, where do we get these prescriptions? Oh, it's attached to the hospital. It's next door. Okay, let's go next door. We go next door and we go to get them. And I can't remember if it was $0 or it was like $5. It might have been $5. Maybe. Not sure. It's just unbelievable. Like, and the fact that he can sit there and say, oh no, the US are paying the lowest prices in the world for prescription drugs. You're fucking out of your mind. In most countries, it's borderline free for the average consumer. Yeah, so they said there's an annual cap in a lot of Nordic countries, but that annual cap, so basically, if you are paying for prescription drugs, if you get to the certain number, after that, it's free. In Sweden, apparently, I didn't deal with the cap, but in Sweden, apparently, the cap is $260. So if you are paying something for your prescription drugs, let's say it's $10 or something, and you keep needing prescription drugs, once you hit $260, you're done for the year. It's cost $0 after that. Like, imagine that in the US. Imagine if no matter how sick you were, no matter how many prescription drugs you needed, no matter whether you were taking cancer drugs or whatever, and once you hit $260, it's $0 after that. Be incredible. Instead, people just go bankrupt paying for this shit. And yet he has the nerve to sit there and go, yeah, cheapest drugs in the world. Cheapest ever. Holy shit. Like, you've got to be such an awful human being to like sit there and lie at that level. I got to tell you, I mean, you guys, I don't know how long you've been watching my shows. Maybe some of you are newer. Back when he was running for president, I never supported him because I knew that he endless array of lying and bullshit. But I had said some positive things about certain areas where I showed a clip of him going after like big ag corporations, which he's abandoned his efforts to do anything about big ag. And I would say, wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's go after big ag. But the moment I realized that like I can't even, like, he is so repulsive that I'm not even going to highlight the positive things he says, was when I saw him speaking about Gaza and Israel. Unbelievable. if you've ever seen a clip of him talk, he legit, as regularly on multiple interviews, said Gazans are the most coddled people on earth. Like, he's said some things that are like more right-wing, like fake news than I think Netanyahu says. I don't know where he gets, I don't know who put him up to it. I don't know why he is like, where I really have to, where I really have to just be above and beyond is on Israel. Some of you guys can guess. He and his well, maybe not his wife, but not his wife. His current wife, but he was a friend of Epstein's, and he said in interviews, I rode on his plane a few times. I don't know, didn't really know the guy. the old I rode on his plane a few times, didn't really know the guy. Don't you love that? I just happened to be on his private jet. I just bought a ticket from American Airlines and they put me on his private jet. It was crazy. Anyway, that does not mean, just because Epstein knew someone, or even was friends with someone, it doesn't mean that they were graping children, but still not looking good. Not awesome. RFK. Okay, let's see. One more. All right, this is a pretty short clip about this guy, Andrew Ross Sorkin, talking at the World Economic Forum, where sometimes at the WEF, they just say the quiet part loud. You got to love it. You got to love it when they just say the quiet part loud.
People of means who are going to travel. And then there's going to be people maybe who are lesser means who might actually be able to use an Oculus or a Magic Leap or some other kind of device.
He legit just said, in the future, the rich will continue to travel around the world and the poor will just sit at home with something strapped to their head. And he's saying this like it's a positive.
To travel to the same place, but from their own couch. But in many ways, it's actually going to create even more distance between those two people. That psychologically, and I think that we've experienced this through social media. In many ways, it's brought people closer in certain ways, but actually created this remarkable divide. Because
now, at first, you think he's saying something like positive, like, oh, he's talking about how inequality's bad. Like, okay, he's going to say something positive here. Not that it's positive, but it's a good thing to call out. He's calling out something that's wrong. Okay, great.
Because it's even more visible, actually, the divide in certain ways.
Oh, I see. He's worried that the poor will find out how fucking rich the fucking rich are. That's what he's saying. It's so funny when you think they're like, oh, thank God he's calling out inequality. Oh, no, he's concerned that the poor that can't travel because it's going to become cost prohibitive. Like you can't even get in a car and go to a different state because gas is going to be so expensive or cars are going to be so expensive or what have you. And public transit's destroyed. And he's saying, but they'll realize how good we have it. And his point was social media's already done some of that where the poor realize how goddamn rich the goddamn rich are. But he's saying, oh, soon they'll see on their headsets that they'll strap to their stupid heads. They're going to see where we get to go. And that's going to be bad because we don't want them to know how rich we are. Like, there's no bottom to the sleaze of the ultra rich. And I do often say, like, sometimes people, this is like, you without showing this clip, you could tell me that this is what the rich are saying. And I would be like, yeah, of course they're saying that. Like, we want to be rich. We want to travel everywhere in the world. And we don't want the poor stuck where they are. That's how the world should be. So that would not shock me. But some people like to point to the World Economic Forum and to a clip from the World and say, that's their secret plan. And I'm like, it's not their secret plan if they put it on video and aired it for the world to see. Like, their secret plans are secret. Their ones that they're filming like TED Talks are largely meant to be visible. So I'm not saying this isn't awful shit, which is why I played it, is because these people are awful. But the truly secret plans are the secret plans. They're not. People love to just show these guys giving a TED Talk and go, that's a secret plan. No, he's doing a goddamn TED Talk at the World Economic Forum. Why would they videotape that? No, the secret plans are in emails that we don't get to see. Okay, I am going to wrap up here for today. But if you haven't seen the new episode of and final episode of Unredacted tonight, that is available for free right now. YouTube.com/Moment of Clarity. You can go watch it there. Just click on the videos tab. I know there's a bunch of things there, a bunch of tabs. Click videos tab. It's like the first video or one of the first. And you can watch it there. It explains everything. And I hope you enjoy it. I will be back. I live stream 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Most of them are 3 p.m. Eastern. But you can watch them at any time. I hope you thought that this live stream was worth 37 cents. No, 33 cents, I think. I had to calculate the other day. 33 cents. If you did, then join up at reallecamp.substack.com, because that's what you'll be paying per live stream, per post. You'll be paying 33 cents. And if you feel like my work is worth 33 cents, then I hope you see fit to keep it going. All right. I will see you Monday. Oh, live events coming up. New York, Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not that far away. May 13th, I think. All the details at leecamp.com/schedule. leecamp.com/schedule. And keep fighting.